Well, hello everyone. Good morning from Ohio. We're excited to have you join us for this session. My name is Bryce Benton. I'm the Senior Associate Director of Admission at Denison. I coordinate our international admission here at the college. This session that we have here today is just a chance for admitted students, maybe enrolled students. I think we have a mix with us today, those who've already committed, those who've been admitted to the college, to just learn more about Denison from an international student perspective. We have a great panel of four different international students with us today to kind of share a little bit about their experience, answer questions, to help you, learn more about Denison, see if it's the right place for you, see, kind of envision yourself spending the next 4 years here with us in Granville. And just a quick housekeeping and a few things before we get started. This is a Zoom webinar, so as an attendee, you won't have the ability to use your microphone, talk, or use your camera, but please do ask questions at any point. This is meant to be an open question and answer session, so we welcome and encourage any and all questions. You can use the Q&A or the chat. We prefer just to use the Q&A feature within Zoom. So at any point, ask questions as we go through. To get started, I'll ask a few questions and then we'll turn it over to student questions. With that, let me pass it off to our students to introduce themselves. Maybe you can just say your name, where you're from, your year, and maybe your major. And I'll start with Ryan.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Liu, and I'm currently a junior right now, double major in psychology and education.
And then Haley.
I'm Haley. I'm a senior double majoring in communication and education. I'm originally from Vietnam. I'm based in the Bay Area of San Francisco.
And Julia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julia. I'm a sophomore. I'm from Brazil, and I'm majoring in politics and public affairs with a minor in data for political research and creative writing.
And then Ola.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ola. I'm first year and I'm from Egypt. I'm majoring in philosophy, politics, and economics.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And obviously, a big congratulations to the students that are here with us today on your admission to the college. But to get it started, why don't we just jump right into it? And I'd love to hear just quickly from each of you, kind of why you chose Denison. What was a big kind of deciding factor for you? What drew you into the college initially, just to get us started? So why don't we start with Haley?
So my deciding process was a little different from everyone else. I applied to a lot of big universities, but then ended up choosing the only small school that I applied to. The reason being I was very shy in high school, did not have a lot of room to grow as a person because it was a big high school. And so Denison gave me, I feel like, is a good small space for me to grow as a person and find a community that is very supportive. And so, yeah, I think that's the main part for me.
And then Ryan. I think Ryan might be frozen. I'll go to Julia.
I applied differently from Haley. I applied to mostly liberal arts colleges across the US. I got into a few, and I remember comparing them and seeing that in paper, they're really similar. They offer a lot of the similar things. And I couldn't visit because of COVID, so it was a really tough decision. But I remember I was able to sit during a class visit online since it was COVID year, some of the classes were online and some professors allowed admitted students to watch their class online. And this professor sent me the syllabus, sent me the readings for that day. I thanked her after the class in an email saying that I didn't know if I was going to pick Denison. I was still at that stage where I had no idea where I was going, but thanking and saying that the class was great. And she answered me saying that no matter where I ended up at, she would always be a resource for me and that I could always count on her. And I remember thinking that if they are already that nice and that supportive and wanting the best from the students when we're just admitted students, they would be the same for when we're students here. And that professor ended up being my advisor now. So it's really a cool circle moment. I told her recently about that interaction and she didn't remember, but she looked for the email and it's in her inbox and she was like, oh my God, I really said that and I really care. And I sent for my words. So it was definitely the moment I realized how like caring the professors were here, and that set Denison apart.
Great. And then Ryan, you back with us? I think you were frozen when you were giving your last answer.
Yeah. For me, it's like I applied for all the liberal arts college actually, and I've been to the campus tour for most of the liberal arts. But among those, the Denison left me the most impression because I really like the landscape of the Denison. It's like buildings are not far from each other, and also the warm, nice community in Denison really impressed me a lot. And also, there's like a little town called Granville. It's not far from Denison. So from the location place and from the warm society, I just feel like this is the place. So I chose Denison.
Very good. And then last, Ola.
I actually did a lot of college search, but I ended up only applying to Denison, and I committed in December. So I feel like that's kind of different when it comes to international students because we tend to take the decision later on. But yeah, I when I was searching, I found something unique about Denison. I found that in its top 3 values, it has community, and it's just so much on like how relationships run deep, and I felt like I needed that when I'm like having undergraduate experience, especially that I was in in a boarding school before, so I felt like the energy of the place might match my energy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to hear a bit more kind of related to your experience as an international student at the college. Obviously, I think each of you, did come from outside the United States, and I know Ryan, maybe, and you went to high school in New Mexico, I think, but certainly it's a big transition, right, into a new country, new college, new culture, right, along with that. So I'm curious, like, how would you say Denison has supported international students? How's the experience been as an international student? Or any advice? I know it's a loaded question, but maybe just focus on the first part. Like, how did this college support international students, and how has that experience been? And I'll start with Julia.
I feel like for the start, Denison really started the sport to before I even got on campus with all. I came in 2021 and it was so uncertain if I could get my visa in time because of COVID specifically. The US was not open to giving new visas even for students coming. And I remember the amount of times I feel like I was with you, Bryce, that I talked like email chains on how to make this work. And that support from the start has still been here. Figuring out visa, figuring out what to bring, what not to bring, and then coming here having a separate international orientation with our study abroad and off-campus study and international student office, where a pre-orientation where they helped us figure out the important stuff that we needed to know, and just having that support, that office that's dedicated for international students that you can pop in anytime and ask questions from work related, or just how do I make friends in this US culture that is a little bit different than what I'm used at home. So having all of that support was really helpful. And then it even goes to the food, because sometimes the dining halls offer opportunities for you to submit your own recipe from home, or like figure something out that's similar enough to what you eat at home. So all of those things were really like important to like making this feel like home.
And Ryan.
Well, for me, I think like I definitely agree with Julia's idea that the international student service helped me a lot since my first year exactly totally online, fully online. So I think my I-20 was frozen at that time, and I just emailed to the ISS department frequently, and we set up the Zoom meeting. And they're really patient. They help me to go through everything, like all the visa, all the I-20, all the identity stuff. And also before I actually came here, the Denison holds a session for the mentor and the students. So we actually talk to one-on-one and to see from another student perspective, then what should I bring? Like, what should I be prepared for actually living in Denison? Even though I was a second year at the time, but it was my first time to arrive in Denison. So I feel like the Denison actually prepared a lot for all the international students, that what they need to prepare and what things that they need to keep in mind to make sure they actually arrive in Denison safely, and also get ready for starting another journey in Denison.
And then Ola, anything to add?
Yeah, sure. I agree with Julia that like supporting international students start from even before you come here. At the beginning, they assign you to admission docent. Actually, Julia was my admission docent. So like, yeah, you can ask them whatever you want, and they will invite you for a meeting where you can actually ask like and see them. And then they assign you to a global ambassador who even picks you from the airport. And they have shuttles for you to pick you from the airport. And then I know there's an international student orientation before the general orientation. I missed that because I had problems with my flight, but it was there to help students navigate like speaking English in Denison. So yeah, I think all of that is very important to set you up to starting your time at Denison. And then from time to time, the International Student Services organize events for international students where they bring food, and food is a big thing. And there's always international food on campus, whether it's like through organizations, student organizations like Latina La Fuerza. I know they bring food. We bring food in MSA, Mediterranean and Indian food. So yeah, international students are pretty supportive when it comes to food.
Which is an important thing. It's often like one of those things that tie closely to your feeling of being home and comfort. But yeah, and I will put a quick plug in that something you mentioned, Ola, that should be the case for all this admitted students and enrolled students here as well, that in your portal, you do have an assigned docent, which is actually all of us here today are all docents for the admission office. But whether it's one of these 4 students or another, definitely a good resource to take advantage of. Feel free to reach out to them. That could be a really helpful extra their support to get questions answered. So just want to put a plug in for that. But Haley, anything that you want to add to that as well?
Sure. I think I have 2 things, especially now that I'm a senior. I've used like a lot of resources at Denison. With the career center that we have at Denison, we have a specific career coach for international students on top of all the other career coach for your major. And so definitely make use of that, because there are some like restriction regarding like your like student visa status and all that, like post graduation. I know like you will have a few years to figure that out. That, and also on campus there are a lot of cultural student groups or like clubs and organization for international students from, or like just for students from different background, like I think Asian Students Union, Black Students Union, a lot of those. And so they are not only for students who identify with the group, but are open for all students on campus. They host a lot of like events, informational like meeting groups. And so joining them would be a great resource and like support system too.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we you know, one nice thing about Denison is it's generally a very global campus. I mean, usually in any given year, nearly 15 to 20% of our class is international. And we have usually over, I think, 70 different countries represented in our student population currently. So there's a ton of services, support staff, and people who have a lot of experience working specifically with international students on our campus. So I think that could be a real advantage. And just a reminder that if you do have questions, please definitely ask them in the Q&A. We want to make the most of our time here together. And again, we're happy to really answer any questions, take the conversation in any direction that might be helpful. But one question that did come in was around choosing a major. And I think all of you have by this point. Oh, I know you're still a first year, but it sounds like you maybe have a major already, or at least an idea of what that's going to be. And the question specifically was if someone chose a major during the application process, can they change it? And that answer is absolutely yes. Every student enters their first year technically undecided in terms of their major. Even if you indicate an interest on your application, we don't admit by program here. Everyone enters in their first year undecided. You can select between any of our majors. I think we have 56 majors, 65 different academic programs, so a ton of different things you can choose from, but you can choose any of them. And majority of our students double major, so it's very easy to combine programs. So very flexible, open academic curriculum and experience that really emphasizes the liberal arts, which is great. So you have a lot of room to, decide what that is, work with a faculty advisor. I know that was mentioned already, to really map that out, really figure out what program is going to be best for you. And you may be surprised. I mean, I think it's a pretty common story that students discover something new in terms of an academic area of interest when they do come here. But I'd love to hear from you guys, just how did you choose your major? What was that process like? What sort of support did you receive for that? Because I know that is something that I think a lot of incoming students do wonder about, because how do you go about that? How do you find the right program, and when do you do that? So I'll start with Ryan.
Yeah, sure. Actually, before I apply for Denison, I know that I want to major in education major. So I just took education class in my first year. And there's different departments has a different requirement for the class. So I have to take this intro to psychology as well. And while I was taking this intro to psychology, I feel like, oh, psychology is pretty interesting as well. So I put my psychology as my minor and the major in education. And then once the time goes on, I'm a junior right now. I figure out that I still have time to probably do the double major. So I changed my psychology minor to major. So I'm currently double major with education and psychology. And then there's like several courses that are correlated with each other. So I think that's really great combo if anyone thinking about doing that.
And then Ola.
My major is Denison is one of few colleges in the US that offers philosophy, politics, and economics, and that was one reason why I chose it. I'm still figuring it out, and I'm taking a lot of classes like history classes, religion classes. So it's not like set in stone. I can change it, but I'm probably not gonna change it. But when you meet with your advisor at the beginning, and as you meet with them throughout your time at Denison, they can definitely help you figure out what major fits you the best. I felt like philosophy, politics, and economics would best prepare me, holistically prepare me, because it makes you very well oriented. And right now it's like my first choice. But yeah, I'm still figuring it out.
Julia.
I always knew that I wanted to major in something related to politics. So when I came here, it was set in stone in a certain way, which is now what most students in the liberal arts education would say. I stick to that, but my minor was something that I actually discovered. So I took a creative writing class for a general education requirement to take humanities out of the way. It was an English class. It seemed fun. And I fell in love with the program. I fell in love with writing. And so I declared a minor. So that's something you can do as well. It's not something I plan on working after graduation, but I know that it's developing skills that I will definitely use at work. And so I truly recommend, when you're taking your G classes, your general education, see if you like that program, because you will in a certain way find something that you love, and maybe switch your major at a minor or figure.
And Haley.
Yeah, coming into Denison, I already declared my major as communication, but I didn't know what that meant. And so taking a few classes and then also trying out different classes, because Denison is a liberal arts school. You will have to take classes in different disciplinary, oh my God, I'm sorry. And so you will have to take classes in different sectors. And so you will have the chance to try out different things, see what you like. I ended up adding another major to mine, and so I'm double majoring right now, and I think it's a great combination. You have full support from staff and faculty members. So yeah, it's pretty easy, and you have until the end of sophomore year to declare.
Yeah, so there's again a lot of flexibility built into that. You'll have a faculty advisor who really, helps you along with that through especially that first year experience program too. I think there's a lot of support to help you figure out and explore the programs meaningfully. Can any of you guess what our most popular major is at Denison? I actually don't think it's represented here in this group.
Is it economics?
What's that,
Computer
Haley?
science.
No, it's not computer science
No?
actually, although it's a growing program for sure.
Is
Anyone?
it econ?
For
Economics?
some reason I can't hear you, Haley. I'm not sure if.
Oh.
Oh, there you
Can
go.
you hear me now?
Yeah.
Is it economics?
Yes, correct. Economics, followed by psychology, communication, biology. Our fastest growing major, well, two of our fastest growing majors are actually global commerce and data analytics as well. So those are very popular growing programs. But you can see it's a wide range, right? So sometimes I think students hear the phrase liberal arts and maybe they think it's an art school or something like that, and that's definitely not the case. We have tons of different program areas represented, and our students really do spread out, I think, pretty well across all those programs. But one question that came in here is around campus accommodations. And I'll just intervene before I pass it off to you all to talk about housing on campus and just like what it's been like living on Denison's campus. And to answer that question more directly first, we do have on-campus accommodations. We actually require students to live on campus all 4 years. The campus it's big, it's beautiful, it has great facilities. Pretty much everything you need on a regular day-to-day basis is within a short walking distance of where you're living. So it's very convenient in that way. But yeah, I'd just love to hear kind of your feedback on how it's been living on campus and the various accommodations that we do have. So I'll start with, I'll pass it back to you, Haley.
Cool. So I'm a senior. I've lived in basically all quads on campus. It's really nice. I can attest to the fact that it will only get better over the years. I started living in first year housing in a double with a randomly assigned roommate. It was great. We're like really close friends till now. We were roommates for 3 years. You can request for a randomly assigned roommate, or if you know someone and want to room with them, you can also do that. And there are a lot of like different types of housing. You can request to live in a single, triple, quads of 4 people in one, and then 6 men and 8 men are also options. And now I'm a senior. I live in a senior apartment. I share a kitchen, living space, 2 bathroom with 4 other people, and you each have your own room. So it's really nice.
And then Julia.
I've had great experiences living on campus. I feel like I always tell people it won't be perfect. It's my first time living with someone and sharing a room. You will have some kind of conflicts, but that's a good thing about Denison. You do have the support to find a resolution for the conflict if you cannot on your own. We have CAs, which are community advisors, who are students who are trained to help us with making sure we're figuring everything out. And if that doesn't work, we have other people to talk to as well. So definitely any conflict that I've had, because you will have somebody your first time. Many students, it's your first time living with someone. If not, you only share the room with your siblings. So having that experience of living with someone that have different cultures and different experience can be hard, but it's also a really amazing opportunity to grow and like learn to better communicate and like live with other people. So definitely housing on campus is one of my favorite things. I love the fact that it's a 4-year residential community, that everyone's so close by. And I think this is one of the things I'll miss the most when I don't have this environment here at Denison, everyone being so close, a 15-minute walk.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of alumni would agree with that thought, that often one of their favorite parts of the experience or something they look back on, with fond memories of the experiences, those relationships they built, in those residential communities, right? And that shared community experience and that family feel because of that. But Ryan, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, I feel really nice and pretty convenient as well because I think no matter where you live on campus, it's really easy to get to the building you have class or to get food, which are like two essential things for the students. Besides that, I think the housing will send a survey to help you to match up with the roommate that you can. There's a list of choice you have to choose. For example, are you a morning person? Are you prefer to stay really late at night? So they can help you to match up with the roommate, and I think that's a really great experience for you to see some new friends. Whereas I didn't have a chance to do that because my entire first year was like fully online. But fortunately, I found my friends and we matched up in the 3 triple room, I think, in my second year. And yeah, I love it, and it's really convenient as well.
Yeah, and I'll just put a plug in. I always recommend, like as a new student, be matched with someone through the housing preference form process. I think sometimes new students choose a roommate for, I think, reasons other than you would be a good match living with that person, right? I think our housing department is really experienced. They collect a lot of information and really try to match you with someone intentionally based on, like we mentioned here, like shared interests, shared lifestyle. I mean, it's a great way to meet new people as well. So I think the vast majority of our students don't select a roommate in their first year and are matched. I would definitely encourage you to do that in your at least in your first year. And you can always select who you want to live with in later years. But in the first year, I think it's really beneficial. Ola.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bryce. I knew people beforehand, but I chose to go with the random selection because I thought just because we know each other doesn't mean we're going to be good roommates. And the random selection, the roommate survey had a lot of like information like your living style. Are you a light sleeper or not? Do you prefer your room to have like organized clutter or like messy or very organized? And it turned out great. It can be reliable. It didn't work for some of my friends, but it worked for the other people. So like international students feel like they can be disadvantaged because they don't know people before coming here, but it's not like that big of a deal. For housing, it was very important to me to live in a quiet and small house. So I got assigned to Beta House, which happened to be a fraternity house, ironically. But yeah, I love Beta. It's like we're like 25 people here, and we all know each other. And the common room is very vintage. During breaks, me and my international students friends, we come here and we have overnight stays. So yeah, but small houses are great.
Yeah. And it kind of a question that came in related to housing and living with others. Like the vast majority of our students do have at least one roommate. How has that worked for all of you? And how do you the question was, how do you solve each other's needs and problems when you're living with someone else? I know we have some resources we've mentioned here, to help along with that in terms of community advisors, community coordinators. So we have students and staff members who help resolve conflict, help connect roommates to resources and things like that, or change their living situation if needed. But curious how you guys have approached that, yourselves living with others. And I'll start with you, Ola.
Yeah, sure. So first, there's the community advisor. He's in charge of like settling disputes between roommates if it happened to occur. And before like conflicts occur, at the beginning of the year, you have to sign a contract with the roommate. You meet for like 1 hour. You like write what do you want to happen and what you don't want to happen. What are like the red lines for you? And we save that contract in one drawer in the middle of the room. So yeah, so far my roommate have been very respectful to the contract, and I'm trying to be respectful too. But yeah, otherwise if something happens, I think you have the option to change your roommates up to like certain weeks at the beginning of the semester. and you can always reach out to housing and residential communities when it comes to like, I don't know, amenities, or like if you want to change the roommate. So it's very flexible.
Anyone else want to add anything to that? Have experience in that area?
I actually had a roommate change this year, so I feel like I can get a little bit more specific. I living with people will be hard no matter what. I live in a 6-person suite, which means that there's 6 of us in 2 rooms, a bathroom, and a common area. And it's great. I love it. I recommend, but sometimes that will have issues. But a good thing is that you need to your CAs are there to communicate, and I recommend all of the issues could have been solved with people willing to communicate. And I think that's my biggest advice is if something's bothering you, communicate before that snowballs into something bigger, and then you're not able to be nice about it. Because if it's something like, oh, you've been turning the lights off when I'm studying, you can talk about that in a nice way and you'll solve that issue early on. But when that you become resentful about something, that will spiral and the living situation will not be great anymore. So that's my biggest advice is talk about it when things are small and manageable. And then if it comes unbearable, Denison has a support system. After trying to have mediation meetings with your CA and your CC, you can change roommates if that's really something that living situation is not healthy for you.
Yeah, well said. Why don't we move on to talk about, there's one question here that kind of asked about various campus amenities, and we'll maybe focus on just a few of them. And like I mentioned, Denison being a completely residential campus, there is immediate access to everything. There's a variety of dining options. We have a massive fitness center that has multiple gyms and bookstore, multiple libraries. So everything you need certainly is well within reach and very easily accessible. Also nice because we're only a school of 2,300 students as well. So very easy to get access to mostly every facility, every amenity that we do have on the campus. But one that I know is an important piece, we mentioned it earlier, is the food. And I'm curious, what sort of feedback would you have about the dining options at Denison? I know we have 2 main dining halls and then a variety of other options. But why don't you just talk about that a little bit, especially as your experience as an international student? Obviously, it's a big transition in that way, probably to getting used to the food. So I'll start with Ryan.
For me, being honest, I think I just would like to go to the dining hall, which is closest to my class, because it really depends on my schedule. Because sometimes I only have like an hour to eat, so I just prefer to go to the which dining hall is like near to me. Besides that, I think the Slater Union, they have a weekly change spicy special menu, which contains like different stuff. For example, rice. For example, macaroni, I think. So you just like keep changing for like weekly. And also recently, I think it's from last semester, the Slater Union, the Slater Market start to have some Asian snacks and beverages, I think. And it's really nice, and sometimes it really surprised me. So we can have a chance to buy some stuff in the Slater Market for neither food or snacks. And I feel that's really helpful for me because those Asian snacks, you can rarely see them in this area, but they do have it in the Slater Market. Yeah.
What about I feel like our campus does a good job of accommodating dietary preferences. I know one question that came in here is asking, is proper vegetarian food available throughout the week? And I would say definitely yes. There's a good variety of vegetarian options. But yeah, anyone want to add to that? Either just general experience about the food or anything that relates to like how they accommodate preferences, things like that.
Yeah, I want to add to that, since I work with dining. I work in the dining committee with the dining staff to ensure like better dining experience. And I personally have dietary restrictions. I only eat halal food, and I don't think that many people before I came used to eat halal food. And one flex for Denison is that since it's a small college, creating changes can be easier than like larger universities. So like I met with the general manager of the dining hall, and they're pretty approachable, and you can set up a meeting in the same day. And we introduced that option to the dining halls, and it's currently very like regular in there. And when it comes to vegetarian and vegan options and gluten-free, dairy-free, I can see how hard they're trying to like accommodate these needs, and they're very careful with the labels, so that they make sure they don't hurt anyone who like have allergies or like that's like a very serious matter for them. So I would say they're trying, and they have pulse surveys each I think at the beginning in the fall of each year. So they love feedback. They're up to feedback. Like before spring break or like after spring break, we had a international students dining focus group where the dining staff sit in a room, and we waited for the national students to walk in so that we can like give them feedback and ideas to improve dining for international students. And actually, yeah, they took some of these ideas and they made Indian night, dinner night, and they're making another dinner. It's called literally Walk of East Asia. They're gonna have food from East Asia. So yeah, they're trying.
Yeah, it's great. I didn't actually realize you were on that committee. So very, very helpful to have your perspective there. But for anyone else, is there something, do you have a favorite meal that you eat on campus? And do you ever go off campus into Granville to eat or to explore some of the options there?
Yeah, I definitely have a favorite meal. I love the turkey burgers in Slater. I actually should eat less of them probably because they're so good. But yeah, I love also eating off campus in Granville. Granville is a great resource. Like sometimes you will get a little bit tired of food on campus, like you're eating the same seasoning, not necessarily the same seasoning, but like it's really consistent. So like even when you're at home, sometimes you're tired of your mom's cooking if it's the same every day. So being able to go off campus and eat and grab something in the restaurants here in Granville, they are really good. I really like the pub. They have now the Harvest Pizzeria, which is also really good. Highly recommend. And so being able to go down the hill with friends, grab some food, it's really something that I love about Denison.
Anyone else want to add to that? Haley, do you have anything to add to that?
My favorite meal when I used to eat at the dining hall would be like Sunday, I think chicken tender. It's really fun. Just like make it a tradition with your friends. Go there every Sunday. They have a lot of good food and a lot of options. But if you want to go out of like off campus to have something, downtown Granville is just a walk away, maybe like 10 minutes. And my favorite thing to grab, probably because I really like breakfast and brunch food, I like Station. They have a lot of like breakfast sandwich and bagels and like good coffee.
Yeah, very good. All right, so shifting gears here a little bit. One question that came in was about medical facilities. So I think generally talking about healthcare services, you know, what is available, what's not available, maybe, and kind of how that works. If you do need medical, you know, attention or something like that, what do you do? And I'll pass it to Ryan.
Well, for the wellness center, we have the Hoagland Wellness Center that you can actually schedule a meeting online to see your trainer or like make an appointment to see, trying to diagnose with the doctor. And actually one of my roommates, he kind of twisted his wrist this last night or last week, I think. And so he actually went to the talk to the trainer first, and the trainer will guide him to see if he need to go to the Lincoln County, like the bigger hospital to see, to diagnose what's going on. So there's like a fully guide for you to follow, and just no need to worry about the medical things since there's like a resource in campus, and also the campus safety will always help you whenever you feel like you cannot climb the mountain or like you want to move to the other place, you can call them and they will help you to take you to there. And yeah, it's pretty convenient.
Anyone want to add to that?
Yeah, sure, I can add on to that. Denison, it has been really focusing on student mental health as well. At the Wellness Center, we also have free counseling and therapy service for students. You can just easily sign up on their website and then like meet with, and you'll get matched up with a therapist. I know it could be something that you haven't tried before, and it's a great resource and free for students. And then at the Wellness Center, we also have a fitness room where there are a lot of fitness classes. We have spin, yoga, Pilates, urban Zen, a lot of that. So if you're not a big fan of going to the gym, you can also make use of like that resource. I go to spin classes like 4 times a week. It's really great. And we also have like massage chairs in the Wellness Center, which is really cool. You can reserve that room just for yourself, de-stress a little bit. And sometimes Denison would bring in therapy dogs just for students to also de-stress during like exam seasons. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'll kind of add to that. So we basically like there's good introductory level healthcare services on the campus through our wellness center. So if like you have a basic cold, or you're not feeling well, or like Ryan mentioned, if there's a minor injury or something like that happens, you can typically get some support assistance for that. And then if it needs to escalate to a proper hospital, proper doctor, you can get referrals and that can happen off campus. The nearest hospital is only about 10 minutes away. So there's good kind of basic care services on the campus, and then certainly help to seek support off of campus if that becomes necessary. And I'll put a plug in too to say I think the majority of our international students, and actually I'd be curious what you all have, do opt into Denison's health insurance program. I would definitely recommend that you do, because you want to make sure, well, you're required to show proof of health insurance coverage. So every student has to have some form of health insurance coverage, but there's a very wide range of quality of health coverage. So getting Denison's student insurance plan ensures that people on campus understand that policy and that plan and can help you navigate that and understand what's included, and make sure you have appropriate coverage if you need it. Hopefully not during your 4 years, but definitely a good option to opt into. All right, so next question here, and actually we had a few questions about break housing, and I'm curious what I know in the winter break, students are expected to leave their rooms, and obviously during the summer, you would well, actually probably you would change your housing assignments for the next year anyway, but certainly in the summer you would be expected to leave your housing as well. So how have you, and then during the fall and spring break, you can stay. Those are shorter breaks, but you can stay and if you want in your room during those breaks. But how have you all navigated, especially that winter break, leaving your room? What have you done during the break? How has Denison supported that? And yeah, Julia.
So over winter break, I know that a lot of the questions are about storage. So first I'm gonna say it. Over winter break, you can keep your stuff in your room. Since you will probably be living in the same space the next semester. So you can leave everything in your room as you would. If you're going away from a weekend, everything will be there when you come back, and it's a safe space to keep it. Over summer break, unfortunately, you can't. In the past, my first year, I shared a storage unit with some friends. A lot of domestic students also end up getting storage units since maybe they live far away and it doesn't fit everything in a car, or they're flying home. So getting that storage unit is definitely something I recommend. And it's if you're sharing with people, it doesn't become too expensive. And as for the big breaks, I'm lucky to be able to go home. But in the smaller ones, so spring break, Thanksgiving break, and fall break, I usually either stay on campus and find something to do here, or I go home with a friend, or And this spring break, I took a class that's a Denison seminar, and it's a class that will have a travel component. So during spring break, we actually travel to Ecuador as part of the academic part of the class. So Denison offers those opportunities as well. And that was really something I highly recommend when you come to Denison, to take a Denison seminar class some point in your 4 years.
Yeah, anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, I want to add that, yeah, spring and Thanksgiving break, you can stay on campus since you're an international student and you have like no address in the US. But winter break, you can't. I went back home in winter break, but currently me and other, like a couple of international students, we're working within the student life office so that we can bring back the option for international students to stay on campus during winter break, or to have discounted stay in one of the hotels in Columbus. So yeah, we're currently working on like having at least that option over winter break. But otherwise, you can if you're not going back, you can form groups with other international students, and you can take an Airbnb somewhere in Ohio or other place in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that winter break, I think, is the big one. I think most students expect to move off campus or leave their room during the summer, but I think the winter, being it's right in the middle of the academic year, can be a little more challenging. The break is a month long. It runs from about mid-December to mid-January. And you don't, as a student, you don't have to be outside of your room the entire break. You can stay for part of the break. I think it's just like 2 weeks or so that are kind of over Christmas and New Year's, where the campus really, for good reason, tries to completely shut down and do construction related projects and things like that during that time. But I know we have, at least in the past, and you mentioned this, Ola, offered some support for students to help you find, at least through the International Student Services Office, to maybe help you arrange for where to stay if you're not able to return home. I know in the past we've offered discount hotel stays, or at least help coordinate students as groups to find more affordable options for that shorter period when you have to be off campus. But anyone else want to add anything to that? Okay. All right, so let's move to talk a little bit about extracurriculars. I know we have a ton of those at Denison, and curious what you all have been involved with outside of class, and what are some typical extracurriculars or popular things that students do at Denison. We'll start with Ryan.
Well, for me, I play the clarinet, so I'm in the wind ensemble, clarinet ensemble, and also the orchestra. So they are typically their classes, but I consider those as the extra classes activities because we have a performance probably just regularly twice a semester. So we need to put efforts in there, and the performance is for all the students and also the residents in the Granville. So we have to make sure that the performance looks good. Besides that, I'm also in the docent. I don't know if I'm a docent. I don't know if that's extracurricular or not. Like I'm going to leading the campus tour in the campus, and for example, to join this session. So I pretty enjoy those stuff, and I believe the others will have more extra activities they will introduce.
Julia?
As for extracurriculars, there's really not a right or wrong answer here. Anything you can think of, there is a club that does it. And if by any chance there's not, you can always create one. I personally am involved with fraternity and sorority life, which is not like you see in the movies, but it's definitely something, if you're interested in, definitely check it out when you come. I'm involved in Shared, that is our sexual respect advocacy group here on campus. And I have a couple of on-campus jobs besides being a docent. So I work at the Bender's Natch, which is our student run late night food option here on campus. It's all managed by students for students. So it's really something really nice to work on. And so those what I ended up doing, but I know that you can definitely find your thing to do. We have from club sports to a Denison Survivor Club. So there's definitely something for you to find on campus that you'll enjoy doing.
Yeah, and you mentioned Greek life, and I'm just to quickly mention that our Greek life system at Denison is not residential. So if you are affiliated with a fraternity or sorority, 30% of our students are. You don't live in the fraternity or sorority house on campus. You live in university housing, and that's more like a community of people that you have that you associate with, do events, volunteering, type service projects, things like that together. And I know, Ola, you mentioned you live in Beta House, which you mentioned is a fraternity house. It's not actively a fraternity house, so it's a former. You still see some buildings on campus that still retain their Greek name, but those buildings haven't been residential fraternities or sororities since I think the 1990s, so for quite a while now. But yeah, so but love to hear kind of your take on the extracurricular life, what you've been involved with. I'll pass it to Ola.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm part of the dining committee. I'm also part of the student government. I'm representing MSA, the Muslim Student Association, which I'm in the executive board for the MSA as well. There are other clubs and organizations that I'm not part of, but I regularly go to the events. That includes the Denison International Student Association and the Africa Student Association and a couple of more clubs. But yeah, that's pretty much all the extracurriculars I do.
And then Haley.
Yeah, so there are about 200 student-led clubs and organization on campus. As Julia said, you can like participate and like get involved with any or however many you want to be. And so I am the PR chair for Big Brothers Big Sisters. That's like a mentorship program we do with a lot of local schools. I'm also the education department fellow and liaison, so I do a lot of networking events for current students and like scholars and employers in the field. I'm also a senior docent, so like all the panelists, I take out tours, I do interviews with prospective students. It's also a campus job, so you'll get paid to do that. And I also work at the art center that we have, so I usher and do reception for a lot of events like theater performances, music recitals, all of that. I'm also a first year peer mentor, and I like was involved in gospel choir for 3 years. So yeah.
Excellent. All right, so take one more question here, or maybe just a few more before we wrap up. And one question that came in is about internships. And we could talk more broadly about, how Denison helps, students prepare for careers and so on. But I'd love to hear, your experience working with our various career centers, how they support students, and maybe, any details about internships that you've taken, if you have taken one at this point. So I'll go back to you, Haley.
Yeah, so we will have like a lot of career coaches devoted to different like sectors or like majors. So if you're majoring in, I don't know, for me, like communication and education, I would make use of 2 career coaches in 2 different departments. They'll have connection to a lot of employers, help you network, help with your resume and like LinkedIn profile, all of that. They'll help you practice like your interview skills, which is very helpful. And Denison is also very supportive with like internship. I had an internship last summer in San Francisco with a startup, and since it's a startup, they didn't have a lot of funding, they couldn't pay me, but Denison gave me a pretty like generous stipend to live through the summer without an actual like full-time job. So yeah.
Julia?
I haven't had an internship yet, but the Knowlton Center is definitely a great resource for finding those, not only finding those internships, connecting you to potential employers, to alum, but also developing your skills, be that your interview skills, as Haley said, or like having someone read over your cover letter, something that like many of us never had to write. And that help can be applied not only for internships, but also for on-campus jobs. And those on-campus jobs are also really helpful in the interview search, since you're able to develop the skills that will be transferred to whatever you're going to be doing in an internship or in a job postgraduate. So an on-campus job is definitely a great place to start if you want to start developing those professional skills.
Ryan?
Yeah, besides the notice center David mentioned, I think all department will send an email like regularly talking about all the opportunities they offer. For example, last summer I had an internship with the summer school, and actually I heard that news from the education department. So they will regularly send you all the emails, and you can reach out to them. And also you can talk to the people in the Northern Center, as they have mentioned before, to polish your resume and also talk about the stipend. So they will help you to go through all the paperwork, and they will make sure that if you stay here during the summer for the intern, your housing is being covered and you can receive the stipend successfully. So I think it's just like really easy to figure out, and the only thing you need to do is that you need to reach out for them, and you need to put an effort in internship research and how to prepare the internship, because they cannot replace you to take the internship for you, but you need to put the effort for yourself to do that. Besides that, it's like really easy to have one and leaving campus during the summer break.
Nola, I'm not sure if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I want to add that also when you meet with your advisor, my advisor always encouraged me to like apply to internships, and whenever he finds like an internship, he forwarded it to our advising circle. Also, I hear that there's a lot of internships in Granville, and it's not competitive at all because not that many students apply to it. So there are plenty of resources when it comes to internships. You just gotta use them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one, I think Haley mentioned this earlier. We do have a staff member, Josh Gorey, who works with international students specifically on helping, navigate the careers process. Obviously, if you want to stay in the US and work after you graduate, there's certainly some regulations and rules and things like that with your student visa that do allow for that, but certainly is something that can be a little bit complex, and to have that extra support to help you navigate their career process specifically as an international student, I think is really helpful. But Denison, this is the thing I think we invest very heavily in just generally is, helping students get experiences and prepare for launching into successful careers post-graduation, kind of whatever that path is. Could be directly into a career, could be graduate school, service project. There's a lot of paths I think our students take. All right, so we'll wrap it up here. We'll leave with one last question, and we can always continue the conversation afterwards. So for any of the attendees that are here, please feel free to write me an email, reach out to the docents that are in your portal if you have any questions. We'd be happy to connect you with another current student or a faculty member, anything like that as well, if it's helpful. But please do reach out if any of us can be of any help at any time. But I'd love just to hear any parting wisdom from you all as current students who've gone through this process that these folks who are with us here today are about to be going through themselves, and moving to a new place, starting in a new college. And any sage advice, wisdom, things you wish you would have known coming into Denison that might be helpful. And I'll start with Haley.
I'd say now that I've been through almost 4 years of college, I can say that they pass by so fast. And so I'd say make the most use of your 4 years. You'll learn a lot. But I'd say leave space to fail, because when you fail, that's like when you learn the most. And so don't be afraid to like actually fail. Yeah.
Ryan.
For me, it's like I think you better to have a 4-year plan about not only the schedules but also like what you're going to do during the summer, during the winter. It might not sound like that stressful, but I think I'm like, if you do that for your plan, probably you can follow a better path, and not like, for example, me, I did a psychology minor first, then I changed it to the major. So if you think about that in the first place, probably you can save some time to take some more classes and to do more, for example, internship during the summer. So I think the 4-year plan or probably 2-year plan will be really helpful for you before you enter the college.
Julia?
I would say that while having that plan is really important, and I agree, also being open to change because things will not work out as you plan them. But more specific, I feel like also call your parents and call your loved ones back home frequently. Sometimes I get too busy or things get hectic a little bit and then don't call home. And I know that anytime I do call my parents, I'm able to like get back to where I am. And also Denison offers so many resources, but you need to go out, you need to ask. You'll always find your help here, but you need to ask for help. So remember that the resources will not just fall on your lap, but they are here. So when you come here and you're having trouble with something, just ask for help and you will get that help, but you need to go out and actually put yourself there.
And then Ola.
If you haven't committed yet, I would say take your time to choose which college you're gonna go to. I know the decision might seem obvious sometimes, but it's not really obvious. And transfer rates are pretty low for international students. So like whatever you're gonna choose, you're gonna be stuck. So investigate, choose wisely, and make sure you choose Denison.
That's a great way to tie it all together there for sure. And on that note, so for those who were admitted in regular decision, just a reminder, you have until May 1st to reply to that offer. You can do that in your admission portal. Like I said, please reach out if you do have any questions. And I guess my piece of advice to end would be probably pretty similar to what our students said here. And I think a huge thing is just, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to need help. It's a difficult process. College is supposed to be challenging. You're going to be put in situations where you're uncomfortable, where you're outside of your comfort zone, where you're meeting new people. And it's going to seem like a lot, and it is. But what's important is not, I think, what if you fail, like was said right here, right? Failure is a natural part of the process. I think what's important is how you respond to that and how you learn and grow from that. So that's a great thing about Denison. It's a super nurturing community where there is that support. So just ask for help. If you need it, know that you're not alone, and guarantee if you do that, you'll find success. But thank you all so much. Thank you to our student panelists. You guys were awesome today. Really appreciate your help and feedback, especially on a Saturday. Thank you to all of our attendees for joining again. I hope this was helpful for you. Congratulations on your admission, or congratulations on accepting our offer, and we all look forward to seeing you here on campus on the Hill in Granville in the fall. And like I said, if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out to any of us or me by email. I put my email in the chat here, but you should all have it as well. Or you could just email the general admission account at any point. All right, thanks again, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. I hope you all are well.